Hello viewers, this is CVR English and you're watching CEO Point of View and I'm Sandeep. THub, the world's largest innovation and incubation hub, another major technological leap in the city of Hyderabad. In the other world, the latest laurel in the crown of Telangana. The one-point contact for the startups. The new entrepreneurs would be needing a lot of approvals and assistance to establish and execute a startup. The THub is considered to be one-point contact for all such guidance. Time and investment are key factors for the establishment of any startup, and THub is one-point solution. If Telangana is fortunate enough to have THub, we are very fortunate enough to have CEO of THub, Mr. Mahankali Srinivas Rao, with us to guide us through the route and the path of THub. Mr. Srinivass Rao, welcome to our studio, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, CVR, for having me on the show, and look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, sir. So there is one ambiguity basically that whether the THub is a technological hub or Telangana hub. A lot of ambiguity is there, even though websites also are giving different forms. So as a most authoritative person, can you tell me what exactly is this?
So it's actually both.
Okay.
Right? Because it's obviously an initiative by the government of Telangana. So obviously it's called Telangana Hub. But what we do at THub is all about technology. So we also call it Technology Hub. So we can use both. And I think using both doesn't detract from the value which THub brings to the table.
Okay. So people from entire country also can come in for the THub as a startup.
Yes. Today we have many of our programs, close to about 40% plus of the participants are from outside Telangana.
Okay.
Obviously over the last 8 years we built a good reputation for delivering high quality incubation and acceleration services. So startups from across India now work with us.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we are known that THub is the one point of contact for everything, for the approvals or for the funding and all that. How this complete setup actually happens, sir? Means you will be inviting the technological aspirants or the aspiring entrepreneurs. What about the funders, angel funders or the venture capitalists and all that?
Sure. So first of all, we have different programs. Okay, so we have programs for somebody who has an idea and is trying to figure out how to convert that idea into a prototype and then potentially a business. So we have a program for that. We have a program for basically for startups which already have some revenue, say 5 to 10 lakhs a month, now figuring out how to accelerate and scale. So we have a program for that, and then we have an angel funding program.
Okay.
So where today we have more than 70 plus angel investors.
Okay.
So as you know, venture investing has become an attractive asset class. So there are a lot of people who want to invest in their individual capacity. So they come in either directly as angels or through angel networks. So there are several angel networks which are now have been around for a length of time. They follow a well, systematic process of meeting startups, understanding what problem they are solving, and whether the idea, if implemented and executed properly, can result in good monetization, right, and good outcomes in terms of exits and all that. So they reach out to us, and then we get the startups. We prepare the startups through a program called T-Angel to actually be prepared to get into a discussion with a potential angel or an angel network about raising some money for the startup's business.
Okay, so what about the pre-revenue projects? So
Pre-revenue, as I said, in deep tech. So for example, we have, like, just to give you an example, 2 of our startups. One is in robotics and the other one is in trying to build a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft powered by hydrogen. They are right now getting to a prototype stage, but based on the pedigree of the team, the strength of the founders, right, and they have obviously good experience in the past, and the plan they've been presented to the potential investors, they've been able to raise capital.
Did you come across any potential unicorn startup?
So we have several startups which are now Sunicorns, right? And I think we obviously there are in Hyderabad now there are 3 unicorns.
Okay.
So there is Zenoti, there is Darwinbox, and there is High Radius, right? High Radius has been around for a length of time. Zenoti is a company which has been around. Zenoti and Darwinbox have been around for about 6, 7, 8 years type of thing. But there are others in the pipeline, and it's just a question of time.
Would there be any difference between other startups and the unicorn startups, or in terms of funding and
So obviously,
venture capitalists?
obviously there is a difference
How
because the
much?
unicorn funders, startups which are acquiring unicorn status, obviously have reached a valuation of $1 billion or 8,000 crores. So most of them would have gone through multiple rounds of funding.
Okay.
One, and obviously for them to get valued as a unicorn, they would have demonstrated significant traction in the marketplace, shown rapid growth year on year, right, and rapid, in terms of good customer acquisition and so on. So I guess there's a difference.
So, but earlier in the traditional market, people used to go for public issue and all that. But now uniform venture capitalism also has come in. Will this be on a whole scale? Will this be affecting Indian market in any way?
See, about a dozen of the unicorns have also now gone public, right?
Okay.
So if you take companies like Nykaa, Policy Bazaar, right, Paytm, they were all unicorns, and then they went public,
Okay.
right? So I think the public markets is obviously, so unicorn status today is done it's basically valuation in the private markets. But public markets, when a company lists, goes IPO, for example, here Zaggle, a company which is not yet a unicorn, but hopefully soon will become a unicorn. It's a good validation. Public markets, getting listed is a very good very good indicator of that the larger public beyond the investing community sees value in what the startup is building.
Okay. Sir, recently we have the pandemic, obviously we have gone through a very wrong phase, and now we are seeing two wars simultaneously taking place. In this particular moment, sometimes it could happen that a project could halt for any reason, or and at that particular time, obviously the funders will be facing a lot of problem. So as a mediator, will you be taking any intermediate channel job like that, if it does not execute, or if it delays about the losses and all that, means will they be approaching you, that
No,
you
so
being the funder as a
we
government?
we don't get operationally involved in the company, right? So our role is to support the company, help them with obviously we help them with the access to the ecosystem, with access to the network which we built, obviously help them with appropriate methodology, structured playbooks to help them scale, etc. But if like obviously the geopolitical event, so the last 4 years have been very difficult and challenging, right? You had COVID, then the Russia-Ukraine issue, and now the other, Israel-Hamas issue. So obviously we work with the startups to help guide them. We give them, a lot of. We have high-quality mentors who can tell them, a lot of sensible, meaningful inputs on how they should run their business, because the markets are uncertain, right?
On the whole, as an incubator center, what was the effect on the whole with these what you said as black swan events? Because we
Sure.
are not completely out of them also.
Sure. So I think so. Two things, right? One is I think companies have now recognized that they must be agile, they must be nimble, they should figure out how to deal with uncertain times. You don't know what's going to happen. So basically, stay very focused on what you're building. Okay, go at it. Don't try to diversify. Trying to do too many things. So just stay very focused on the core of your value prop. One, and second is make sure you obviously this holds true both in difficult times as well as in relatively easier time. Deliver value. Make sure you take care of your customers, right? Make sure you take care of your team, right? And obviously manage cash conservatively. Don't splurge. Okay. Don't focus on spending cash on the vitals and the essentials, and not so much on the desirables, right? So I think that's a standard mantra which everybody gives. So what we give is not very different.
Sir, you should be receiving lot of applications for that. Do you have any sort of parameters, means according to the time you pick up these startups?
Sure. So, our criteria are fairly simple. So, obviously, at a very early stage, it is about first of all the team. What is the team which is intending to build this, build a solution or a product, or a platform. So, the team is important. Second is what is the problem they are solving.
Okay.
Right. It is important to identify, what first of all, why is what they are solving. First of all, what is the problem? Second is why is it a problem?
Okay.
Third, is it a large enough problem? Is it something where if the startup solves the problem, it will create a positive impact, right? Whether it be it economically, or technically or whatever, right? Is it a faster, better, cheaper, more efficient way of doing things, right? So, team, idea, problem they are solving, what is the solution they are thinking of or have already built, how is that solution technically or commercially superior, is it quicker, more efficient, and so on. And last but not least, what is the traction they have built so far, how have they been able to demonstrate. It does not matter whether you have, one is to say I have hundreds of customers, but sometimes even having a few customers, 5, 10, is enough validation that people are willing to pay you for what you are building, right? So, these 5 or 6. So, idea, team, problem, solution, traction are what broadly we look at. And also of course, what is happening in the broader market and whether they have identified a space which is not super crowded, super competitive, right? Where you will need a lot of resources to be able to, where there are lots of very strong incumbents. So, if you just say that I am doing this, there are 10 other people doing it already and some of the 10 have already reached scale, chances are you are not going to be very successful, right? So,
any sector, particular type you will be giving priority, like now AI is on the boom, like that will you be checking AI robots like that?
So, we have, so incidentally we have, we have startups across 30 different, more than 30 sectors. So, we have startups ranging all the way from, we have startups in agriculture, we have startups in edtech, we have startups in fintech, we have startups in logistics, we have startups in healthcare, we have startups in obviously some horizontals like AI, AR, VR, Web3 and so on. So, but broadly the 5 areas where we will continue to support startups in all these sectors, but the 5 which we will double down on are obviously healthcare, because Hyderabad has a very good ecosystem for healthcare. Healthcare includes medical devices and things like that. Second is obviously what you referred to, which is this whole AI bit. Third is what we call enterprise tech, which are a lot of companies which are building SaaS based solutions, right? For it could be for applications in sales, in finance and other areas. Then of course what you might call emerging tech, so which is things around for example drones, robotics, right? Even technologies like AR, VR, blockchain, etc., which are all emerging tech. So, broadly these healthcare, sustainability, then enterprise tech, and mobility is also another big area of focus. We have a large number of EV and EV related startups working with us.
Sir, we heard that THub organizes very good boot camps and expos also. What is the role and how successful they are, sir?
So, they are successful. I mean, obviously, if they were not successful, we wouldn't have, we have at this point of time 410 startups in the building where we are right now, and we have only done 60% of the building from a fitting out perspective.
Okay.
So, at full capacity, we'll have about 700 startups.
Okay.
And at any given time, we have more than 600 startups who are engaged with us, who are not just co-working tenants in our building, but also through our programs there are startups.
Sir, there is another hub called TWorks in the same campus, and one more thing is coming up. We heard that. Means are these things go hand in hand always?
Yeah, very complementary. TWorks is India's largest prototyping center.
Mhm.
So essentially, anybody who's building something. So
Mhm.
let's say you're trying to build a drone,
Mhm.
or you're trying to build an EV,
Mhm.
okay, or you're trying to get something done printed 3D,
Mhm.
right? TWorks is the place to go from
Okay.
a prototyping standpoint.
Mhm.
So the whole intent of THub and TWorks being adjacent to each other
Mhm.
is that TWorks can provide the ideation, incubation and co-working space,
Mhm.
and the prototyping can be done at TWorks.
Okay. So can we know something about you personally?
Sure.
How your journey as an entrepreneur, how you landed in the THub and all.
Okay. So I'm a native of Hyderabad.
Okay.
I kind of did my schooling at least from class 8 in Hyderabad.
Mhm.
Then I did my engineering in Osmania University in OU College of Engineering. Then I did my MBA in IIM Bangalore,
Mhm.
and I've had my career in 3 parts. So first 12 years I worked for others. Then 20 years of entrepreneurship, 2 stints as an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
One was part of the promoter team at a company called Network Solutions, which was then subsequently acquired by IBM. And then I started a cybersecurity company in 2008, and that was acquired by the National Stock Exchange in 2019.
Okay.
And then post that, so after having already worked for about 32 years at that point, I felt there was an opportunity for me to all the learnings I had in both my stints as a professional and then as an entrepreneur. There's an opportunity to give back, and then I did most of my 32 of the last 38 years I've been in Bangalore,
Mhm.
even though I grew up here.
Mhm.
So then there was an opportunity to come back here and to to become the head of THub.
Okay.
So I thought this was a great opportunity because the government has built a world-class infrastructure,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of things which could be done to create a very strong, high-quality support system for entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
and to build the ecosystem to
Mhm.
make sure that entrepreneurs here become successful, build scalable businesses,
Okay.
create lots of jobs, and obviously also along the way create some wealth.
Which one is giving you more satisfaction, sir? Being a co-founder or founder of one company as an entrepreneur or as a CEO?
Sandeep, that's a hard question to answer. It's like asking a parent, who's your favorite child?
Mhm.
So I've enjoyed all 3 parts of my journey.
Mhm.
As a professional, I learnt a lot, had opportunity to work with many amazing people.
Mhm.
Being involved in building 2 businesses was
Mhm.
also
Mhm.
a terrific experience.
Mhm.
And now helping build an ecosystem has also been a great experience.
Mhm.
So I think it's hard to choose. It's
Mhm.
hard to make a choice because during each phase there has been some learning,
Mhm.
and hopefully I've been able to add value in what I've been able to do in all 3 phases. So I think I pretty much liked what I've done in all 3 phases.
But truly, as a commoner belonging to Hyderabad, I'm sure people like me are very much blessed to have you as a CEO of THub.
You are very kind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, in one particular point from your journey, it struck my mind that suppose if when you have when you have founded a company or as an entrepreneur, you're not THub, government is supporting you, it grows, and finally it is being acquired by a foreign company. And nowadays we are seeing even layoffs also, shutting down also, there are so many things. So in that particular case, from the nation's point of view, is it a good sign or a bad sign? Because nation has supported you, government has supported you, but at the end of the time, one foreign company has acquired everything, and with one particular letter, it can employees may get layoff. What would be that?
Hard one to answer, Sandeep, but I'll try and answer it. I think 2 parts, right? One is end of the day, market forces play a role in determining this, and I think the end of the day you have to look at it from obviously there's the lens of patriotism, etc. But also as an economic entity, the founder or founders have a responsibility to make sure all stakeholders get taken care of. What I mean by all stakeholders is, in this case, it could be investors. It's obviously your team, the team which works for you. It's also your customers, right? Your partners who work for you. So you have to choose what is most appropriate in that particular time, right? And today, reality is that there is, two parts. One is layoffs are happening for sure, but I think unfortunately what happens is a lot of the time the focus tends to be on, nobody is talking about the new hiring happening. A lot of focus is on what layoffs are happening, and some of this also happens in cycles, right? So right now we are going through a little bit of a tough cycle, but it's just a question of time, because the law of cycles means that whatever goes down has to sometime come back up. And and now obviously all these geopolitical events plus the pandemic have created a little bit of a challenge, but I remain optimistic that in the next let's say in the next 18 to 24 months things will get back to being good.
Thank you, sir. Because what is the thing is, so many people are very much getting depressed because a couple of days back also news has broke out that 50,000 employment is less this particular year throughout India, and few of the companies have cancelled the campus placements. So what advice would you like to give for the students, especially in this particular thing?
Sure. So I think so two parts. I think one is that today I think the whole scene is changing, right? So first is, I think young people who start out today, first of all, be prepared to handle change. Okay, things are not going to be what it used to be 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Things change, and things are changing much more rapidly. One, so be agile. Okay, keep updating your skills. Okay, do not become complacent. Okay, and stay very focused on making sure once you get into a job or a role, make sure you deliver great outcomes. So talent will always be recognized as long as talent delivers value. Talent is focused on giving good outcomes, and just do whatever you are doing very passionately, right? So that's my 2 bits advice. So keep updating skills. Don't allow yourself to become obsolete, right? And keep doing whatever you are doing. Give it your best, right? And then surely talent will get recognized. Or of course, entrepreneurship is a choice, right? India needs, we have we have 100,000 startups today. We have about 7,500 in Telangana, but when you think of 1.4 billion people, 100,000 startups is a small number. We probably need close to 1 million entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurship is also an option for young people to think about, but obviously they have to be prepared for the fact it will be a tough journey. You have to have the right idea, the right team, execute properly. All of those things have to be done. So, yeah.
As an extension to this, I would like to frame another question, sir. That most of the percentage are from financially poor background. For them, especially in South India, they will be having a family pressure to gain a job, and IT job is something which is a dream, which is a destination for so many families. And within the person, if they want to go for a startup, it's a very high risky job. They will be facing so many pressures from so many corners. For those type of people, what would be your suggestion?
Sure. So I think 2 parts. It's not an easy answer again, because obviously one thing which people would look for is job security and so on. But one of the advantages of working in a startup, I think, is the kind of exposure, experience, the opportunity to deal with some amount of chaos on a daily basis, right? The ability to deal with ups and downs is a fabulous experience. It may be hard for you to get that kind of experience in a large setup, because there things are obviously much more structured, etc. So I think I tell people that early stage of your career, what is really important is focus on 3 things, right? One is, first of all, build a very positive attitude to work. Whatever you have to do it with focus and drive. Second is keep acquiring knowledge and keep upgrading your skills. right? And these phenomena will happen, like you said, but these are all transitory, you know. So things will turn, right? And startups, we are adding startups every month, you know, both in India and in Telangana. And startups are hiring. Startups are may not be able to give you the, you know, the comforts which a large company can give you, but the learning, the exposure that you get will be enormous.
I think it will be complete if you give suggestion even to the parents also. If a child comes, if he says that I am quitting my job, want to become an entrepreneur, to even to those parents also.
I want to give you an example
Mm.
of one of our founders, right? A young founder called Nikhil,
Okay.
and he runs a company called Gearhead Motors. He comes from a fairly not so great, well-to-do economic background. He studied, then he worked in a large tech company, was drawing a decent salary, then decided to, you know, step out and start this, you know, electric cycles company. He's doing very well, right? And he, as I said, two things I wanted to leave you with. One is, comes from a fairly ordinary economic background, not from a particularly well-to-do family. There was initial resistance from his parents, but he convinced them and said, "Give me some time and a chance to do this." He's now doing very well, right? So I think as you see more and more of these young people come out and start doing things, it takes a while to change mindsets, right? Parents may be concerned about, you know, economic stability, security, but once they start seeing that there are other young people who become successful, right, who come from similar, you know, backgrounds, it's a question of time.
Thank you, sir. And this being a government organization, initially when it was opened, we heard so many things, especially from the print media, that entering THub is an expensive thing also.
Sure.
What would be your stance on that?
Well, I put it this way, right? From our programs are extremely attractively priced. So we charge for a 4-month program. Most of our programs are 4 to 5 months. We charge something like between 80,000 to 90,000, right? Which for a 4-month program is very little. One. Second is, even if you take the co-working spaces which we offer to our startups, our pricing is extremely attractive. It's close to about between 30 to 40% lower than other spaces. And the reason we charge, for example, for the programs is because we call it a seriousness fee, right? Because I think you will all recognize that if you give something away for free, people may not give it the attention and the focus it deserves. So we are charging, you know, let's say, as I said, 80,000 rupees for a 4-month program. In terms of the value they will get, right? The value they get will be several times over what they are paying for the program.
But this is the country with subsidies and all that. So, as a government organization, have you faced even this particular query that, especially the poor people and economically backward people?
Not so much, because we also tell people that, you know, when you're thinking of starting something, right, there has to be, you have to have a mindset that first of all it's going to take a while, right, to build. Nothing is very hard for an entrepreneur to start today and become wildly successful tomorrow. It takes time. It's like planting a tree in the soil, or a plant, you know, and then putting water, manure, and all of that. So entrepreneurship is similar, right? So you have to be willing to you know, to walk the hard path, and there's some costs you'll incur in the process. But as I said, our costs we keep low, primarily because we want to make sure that that doesn't become a barrier for people to come in. But we also want it to be, you know, a reasonable amount of money, so that people recognize it's a serious program. You know.
What are the? Can you tell me which startup has excited you the most?
We have several. It's hard for me to call out, but obviously some of them you know. So things like Skyroot, you know, which Skyroot, which as you all know, is now become a poster boy. They literally are doing rocket science, you know, the first Indian private player to get into space, and so on. So they are there. Then there's another company called Dhruva, right? Then we have Adonmo, which is this display, units in apartment buildings.
Okay.
They're all doing well, and all fairly young founders, very passionate about what they're doing, and they've figured out the right model to build and scale, and so on.
So you said about space engineering, but means as a commoner, space engineering means usually rockets and the spacecrafts only coming to our mind. Apart from the prototyping and all that, the final trials require huge space and all that. How does the THub helpful in that particular area?
Sure. So we work. Obviously, the government gets involved. The government and ISRO and other entities. So I think it's fair to say that we have a progressive policy in the state. One of the first states in India to announce a space tech policy, right? And all the startups which are in that space are leveraging the benefits thereof. So essentially providing them, land at subsidized rates, and a whole range of other facilities, plus involving the ecosystem which we have, is what we've been able to do.
Okay. Sir, one more thing, within this particular competition, I'm hearing one more thing that AI is killing IT jobs. As not as a CEO of THub, but as a technical person, I'm asking you: is it right to say that?
I'll put it this way, right? This keeps happening regularly, and I cast your mind back to something which happened about 120 years ago, when automobiles were first invented. Right before automobiles, people used to have horses or horse-driven buggies to move around. And there was this thing that once cars come in, a whole lot of jobs will happen, right? And we all know, 120 years later, there was one car company to begin with, now multiple car companies creating jobs, etc. Right? So AI also, right? I think first of all, to some extent, AI to some extent has been hyped. It is not that human beings will go, all jobs will be taken over by AI. Certain types of jobs are at risk from AI, for sure. But the vast majority of jobs which require judgment, cognitive capability, etc., all of it will still remain, right? And many of us will learn how to use AI to become more productive, right? It will be a tool. It is not going to be a replacement.
Like you said, few people will be having a potential, but because of various things, they will be unable to present before you. What is the support? What exactly would you like to convey to them?
Anyone who has an idea can come in, present what his idea is. We'll listen to it. If the idea has merit and has what we call has some legs in it, we'll sit down and take it out, figure out how to do it forward, right? And we are available. You can reach us through so many channels. You are available on LinkedIn. We are available on Twitter. We are available on Meta, and so on, right? So access is not an issue today. If anyone has an idea about wanting to do something, or is already doing something and needs support, reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to support you.
Yeah, you will be having your own scrutiny parameters.
Yeah.
What is the suggestion you would like to give to those people who are rejected?
Keep at it. We'll give you feedback on what you need to do to make it a more viable proposition. So, because one of the things we've seen with many entrepreneurs is, before they decide to start something, they should spend some time studying, going back to the basics. What is the problem they are trying to solve? Why is that a problem? If they solve that problem, will it impact a large number of people, and will you be able to monetize and make money? These are some very basic questions you have to ask. Suppose you were to say, listen, I want to do something in a very crowded space. Chances are you will struggle to to become successful, to raise money, and so on, right? So do some thinking before you jump in.
Thank you very much, sir. We are really blessed, and we are really fortunate to have you on this.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.